Hello, my name is Rachel, and I am 32 years old. I wasn't always this strong or confident. There was a time when I felt invisible in my own family, like a shadow that didn't matter. My parents, Thomas and Margaret, made it clear who their favorite child was, my older brother, Daniel. Growing up, Daniel was the star. He was 2 years older than me and always had the best of everything: fancy clothes, expensive gadgets, and private tutors. My parents paid for his college tuition, but when it was my turn to go to college, they told me, "Rachel, you're smart enough to find your own way." So, I worked part-time jobs to pay for my education. I struggled, but I made it. After college, I got a good job in marketing. I worked long hours, learned new skills, and saved money. But no matter what I did, my parents still compared me to Daniel. "Daniel is running the family business," they would say. "You should learn from him." They didn't see that I was building my own path, without their help. Things got worse when I learned about the inheritance. One evening, we had dinner at my parents' mansion, a place filled with memories that didn't always bring me comfort. My father stood up and made an announcement. "We've decided that Daniel will inherit the family business and the mansion," he said, a proud smile on his face. "He's worked hard to earn this." I felt my heart sink. "What about me?" I asked, trying to stay calm. "I'm your daughter too." My mother sighed, as if I had asked something ridiculous. "Rachel, we cannot give our property to someone who doesn't understand responsibility. You wouldn't know how to handle it." I could barely breathe. They thought I was ignorant, a failure compared to Daniel. I left the dinner table, my eyes burning with tears, but inside, a fire had been lit. I wasn't going to let them treat me this way anymore. Little did they know, I had already started uncovering secrets about the family, secrets that would change everything. I was done being the forgotten daughter. That night, I sat in my apartment, the words ignorant and irresponsible echoing in my mind. But I wasn't going to let their insults break me. Instead, I opened my laptop and started digging into the family's financial history. My parents always treated Daniel like the rightful heir to the family business, but something felt off. Why was I being cut out completely? The first thing I found was a legal document, an old version of my grandfather's will. My grandfather, who passed away 10 years ago, was a wise man who always believed in fairness. I remembered how he used to tell me, "Rachel, you have strength you don't even know you have." When I read the will, my heart nearly stopped. My grandfather had left instructions that the family mansion and business should be split equally between Daniel and me. I wasn't supposed to be ignored or left with nothing. But somehow, after he died, my parents had changed everything. I needed answers. The next day, I walked into the office of Mr. Benson, the family's longtime lawyer. He had been around since my grandfather's time and knew all the family secrets. At first, he was hesitant to speak to me. "Your father won't be happy if he knows you're here," he warned. "I don't care," I said firmly. "I deserve to know the truth." He looked at me, his expression softening. "Fine. But you didn't hear this from me." He pulled out an old file and placed it on the desk. "Your grandfather's will was changed after his death. I don't know exactly how, but your parents found a way to redirect the inheritance entirely to Daniel." I clenched my fists, anger boiling inside me. "This isn't legal, is it?" Mr. Benson shrugged. "If you have proof and a good lawyer, you could fight it in court. But that's not all, Rachel. There's something else you should know." I leaned forward, my heart racing. "What is it?" He lowered his voice, as if afraid someone might overhear. "Your father had an affair years ago. There's a child involved. They've been using family funds to support this secret child. I don't think Daniel even knows." I sat back, stunned. The betrayal was deeper than I had thought. My parents didn't just ignore me, they had used the inheritance to cover their lies. Later that evening, I drove back to the mansion, my mind spinning with questions. How could they hide this from me and Daniel? Did my brother even know what was happening? I wasn't sure. But one thing was certain, I wasn't going to stay silent anymore. I stepped into the living room, where my parents were watching TV. My mother looked up, surprised. Rachel. What are you doing here? I need to talk to you. Now. My voice was steady but cold. My father turned off the TV. This sounds serious. Oh, it is, I replied. I know about the will. Grandpa wanted me to have half of everything, but you changed it. Their faces went pale. My mother shifted uncomfortably, while my father's expression hardened. You have no idea what you're talking about, he said. I also know about the affair, I added, crossing my arms. And the child you've been secretly supporting with our family's money. Does Daniel know about this? My mother gasped, covering her mouth, while my father shot up from his chair. How dare you dig into our personal lives? I didn't flinch. How dare you steal what's mine? Before they could respond, Daniel walked in, holding his car keys. What's going on? He asked, sensing the tension. I turned to him. You should sit down. There's something you need to know. Daniel sat, confused. But curiosity burned inside me, and I didn't hold back. I told Daniel everything, the will, the changes our parents made, and the secret child they had been supporting. With each word, Daniel's face darkened. Is this true? He asked, glaring at our father. My father stammered, trying to defend himself. We did what was best for the family. No, Daniel said, his voice filled with anger. You did what was best for you. You lied to both of us. I had expected Daniel to defend them, but instead, he turned to me. Rachel, we need to fix this. You deserve your share, and I won't stand by and let them cheat you. I felt tears welling in my eyes, but I blinked them away. Thank you, Daniel. We hired a lawyer and filed a legal case against our parents for fraud and will manipulation. In court, we presented all the evidence, the original will, financial records, and proof of the secret child. Our parents' lies were exposed for everyone to see. The judge ruled in our favor, restoring my share of the inheritance. But the punishment didn't end there. My father's affair became public knowledge, ruining his reputation in the business world. The mansion and family assets were put up for auction to cover legal fines and debts. A few months later, I bought the mansion. My parents, now broke, were forced to leave. As I stood in the grand living room, memories flooding back, I felt a sense of peace. They had tried to break me, but I had risen stronger. And now, they had to live with the consequences of their betrayal. I'm not the ignorant daughter anymore, I whispered to myself. I'm the one who won. It's been 6 months since I took control of the mansion, and my life has never felt more peaceful. I've made a few changes to the house, turning the once cold living room into a warm, inviting space with cozy furniture and artwork that reflects my personality. The past still lingers here, but I no longer feel haunted by it. As for my parents, they now live in a small rented apartment on the outskirts of town. Daniel and I visit them occasionally, but our relationship is different now. The power they once held over me has disappeared. My father avoids eye contact when I visit, and my mother has stopped giving me lectures on how to live properly. Daniel and I have grown closer since the truth came out. He apologized for not seeing how our parents mistreated me all these years. We've decided to run the family business together, splitting the responsibilities and profits equally. It turns out working with Daniel isn't so bad when he's no longer blinded by favoritism. One afternoon, I was sitting on the back patio, enjoying a cup of tea and the sound of birds chirping in the garden, when Daniel arrived. He had a broad smile on his face and a folder in his hand. "I have something for you," he said, handing me the folder. "What is it?" I asked, flipping it open. Inside were documents showing that the family business had expanded into a new market, something I had suggested months ago. "You were right about diversifying," Daniel admitted. "It's already paying off. Profits are up by 15%. I smiled, feeling proud. "We make a good team." He nodded, but his expression turned serious. "There's something else I want to say. I know you didn't get the love and support you deserved growing up, but I want you to know that I see you now. You're not just my sister, you're my equal." For the first time in years, I felt like I had a family member who truly understood me. "Thanks, Daniel. That means more to me than you know." Just as Daniel left, the doorbell rang. I wasn't expecting anyone, but when I opened the door, I saw Mr. Benson, the family lawyer, standing there. "Mr. Benson. What brings you here?" I asked, inviting him inside. "I wanted to share one final piece of news," he said, settling into a chair. "Your grandfather left a private investment fund in your name. Your parents didn't know about it, so they couldn't touch it. The fund has grown over the years and is now worth $5 million. My jaw dropped. "You're kidding." He chuckled. "No, Rachel. It's all yours. You've earned it." After Mr. Benson left, I sat in my office, thinking about everything I had been through. My parents had underestimated me, but I had proven them wrong. The inheritance, the business, the mansion, none of it mattered as much as the strength I had found within myself. I picked up my phone and called Daniel. "I have an idea," I said. "Let's start a charity in Grandpa's name. We can use part of the investment fund to help young women who were told they weren't good enough, just like I was." Daniel agreed without hesitation. "Grandpa would be proud of you." As I hung up, I looked around the room, realizing how far I had come. I wasn't just the forgotten daughter anymore. I was a woman who took back what was rightfully hers, and created something even greater. And this time, no one could take it away from me.